For more audio, visit zoomdar.bandcamp.com and check below the video for up-to-date links and other information on the recordings. So this is the multi-track session for Open the Door. I'm just going to play a little bit of it. So the story behind this recording was, it took me about a year to write the song, and as I was getting close to finishing it, I was having some problems with my hands, and so I had to wear a brace, and I'm still wearing a brace now, but I was so close to being finished writing the song, I decided I wanted to record a quick multi-track version. Now I have Pro Tools, and I've been using Pro Tools for more than 15 years, so that's really my go-to DAW. But it's more complicated for me to set up a Pro Tools session because it's on my old computer. And on my new computer, I have Garageband, which I've more or less never used. But just because it would be simpler, and I thought I'd have to do less clicking and playing, I figured I'd record it in Garageband, even though I didn't really know how to use the program too well. And since I was having problems with my hands, I wanted to play the least amount possible. And also, I didn't do any sort of editing, so this session is like really basic. It's basically just me tracking, and then I did some very minimal mixing to it. So the core of the track was something that I had already recorded as I was demoing it on my H6, so I'm just going to solo those tracks. And this was recorded with two SM58s. Now the reason why I split these tracks in GarageBand is so that I could process them differently. So one is an SM58 on the guitar track and the other is on the vocal, and they're both recorded simultaneously. Took a trip to the country lake. So I'm going to unsolo the guitar now. On the waves. Took a dip in the country lake. You can hear what the guitar sounds like. So that's the foundation element that I was starting with. So what I did with those tracks is I applied a little EQ and compression to them just to flatten out the dynamics a little bit. And I added some elements. So the next thing which I did was the bass guitar. And as I was developing the song, I never really put any thought into the bass. It was more of just an acoustic guitar thing. So let me play you a bit of the bass track. So you can hear that it's very basic. What I did was I just played back the song a few times and I sort of played along with it, tried to see what was working, and at one point I'd thought of giving the song more of a blues sort of vibe, and I ended up playing sort of like a pretty bluesy bass line for this, and it seemed to work well. So it does this thing. So it does that a lot in the verses. Sometimes it doubles up on the guitar riff. Very simple. And in the chorus, I'll get to that part later, but it does something interesting. It plays the root and the fifth of the chord, and that has a relationship with what the lead guitar is doing, which is playing very similar rhythmic pattern, but that's playing the root and the third, and they go together quite well. So the bass part in that section is something like this. So as we get to the chorus section, I'll play what I recorded on the bass there. So that's the bass guitar element. The next thing which I recorded was some lead guitar parts. So there's a couple of guitar overdubs, and I had a rough idea of what I was going to do for that. I've been playing around on my classical guitar, stuff like this. Just really simple stuff. So let me play a little bit of that track. And then I just put on some FX presets in Garageband and tinkered around with them a bit. So you can hear what that sounds like, both the guitar and the bass. So this is an electric guitar. I recorded DI directly into the Zoom H6, which I had connected to this GarageBand session. And then I applied effects later. So you can see I've got the mystery chorus effect on this one. And I did one additional guitar overdub, which is over here. I used the multi-phase face. So I'll play back a little bit of that. So you can hear what that sounds like. And that part, combined with the falsetto vocal, was something which I did because I really wanted to give an identity to the first part of the song. So let me solo the falsetto. And how the falsetto came about initially was I wanted to have some sort of a backup vocal on it. And I tried singing a third, and I wasn't so happy with what that sounded like. So then I tried the falsetto at a higher octave, basically doubling up and sometimes ghosting what was going on with the lead vocal. And it seemed to work quite well. So now let me solo that guitar track again, and you can kind of hear how these elements go together. So in the chorus, some of these tracks start to do different things, so I'm going to play them back again, soloing them. So this is what the bass guitar is doing.
My veins, I'd like to come in.
So that's the bass. Let me skip ahead. We'll play the guitar track.
I'd like to come.
The lead guitar part for that section of the song was really easy to come up with. I just played something that was instinctual and was really simple. And I was planning to come up with something a bit more elaborate, but it just seemed to work really well. So that's an E and a G sharp. So that's the root and the third of the chord, which is E major. And then I play an F sharp and a G sharp. So that's the root and the second. On the other guitar track, I do single chord strikes to thicken out the chorus. The falsetto comes back in the chorus as well.
Blood in my veins, I'd like to come in. Like to come in. Will you help me assure?
So the falsetto vocal was to partially thicken out the chorus. One thing you might have noticed on the lead vocal was I'd only intended that recording to be a demo, the acoustic guitar track and my voice, and so there's actually a point where I turn my head down and I'm not singing directly in the mic, and having a backup vocal helps to cover that over a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to solo some of these elements, and you can kind of see how they work together in the chorus. So I'll do the falsetto and the bass, and we'll do the two guitar tracks. So I've soloed some of these elements so you can hear what they sound like working together in the chorus. So that's the multi-track session for Open the Door. You can kind of see how it's really, really simple, and yet by adding just a few elements, it really helps to thicken out the song and create something interesting. So from here, most likely at some point, what I'm going to do is export these individual tracks, print the effects on them, and then bring them into Pro Tools and do some more sophisticated editing there.